A thread by Carlos Osuida. John Cusack and Alex Melamed show you that when it comes to politics, the dumbest people out there are actors and artists. Their view of President Trump is hilarious and terrifying. Pathological cognitive rigidity and historical ignorance. From Breitbart, John Cusack compares Trump's political style to Hitler's. Quote, Hitler sort of stole from the avant-garde left, Cusack said on the WTF with Mark Maron podcast. He hated the message of the avant-garde left because it was anti-war, but he understood that politics was the new art and that art and politics were going to be infused. You can see Trump sort of doing the same thing. The first time he tore a child away from their mother's arms and put him in a cage. This wasn't a reality TV show anymore. This was real fascism, he added. Where to begin? Children are separated from their mothers because everybody needs to be checked medically. They have to see how many have been raped, how many have tuberculosis, how many have intestinal parasites, and so on. Leftists think that they're being kind to the pobrecitos by creating a trail of murder and rape for people to come here illegally and become the slaves of rich leftists and corporations. See this nice fella? Miguel Angel Trevino Morales, alias Z40, leader of Los Zetas, captured on July 15th, 2013. He murdered 72 would-be illegal aliens on the same day for refusing to become drug mules. He used the stew murder method, stuffed them into 55-gallon oil drums, 3 or 4 people per drum, poured in gasoline, and burned them alive. Providing medical aid for children and preventing them from becoming sex slaves of rich American leftists is fascism. As for the avant-garde left, there's no such thing. The avant-garde is by definition collectivist, so it's automatically leftist. Fascism is leftist. It's collectivist. Individualism is prohibited. A centralized government controls all aspects of life. Trump is an anti-fascist in that he's a federalist and he puts the rights of the individual ahead of the collective. But Cusack thinks he's the smart one. John Cusack tweeted, Trump is basically a test run for true evil, the Antichrist for dummies. The gods saying we're going to give you a version so obvious with such unimaginable stupidity and abject cretinism and sloth to show how decadent and empty your culture and institutions have become. Change. Opposite world. Trump equals sloth. What can you even say? The man's brain doesn't function. He's nothing but deranged hate. He hates a man of his own invention, a man who does not exist. Now we come to the truly laughable artist, Alex Melamed. Time.com. Blame Donald Trump's rise on the avant-garde movement. Melamed thinks that avant-garde artists created Trump. People who nobody knows about created Trump. I know who Jeff Koons is, but I'd never heard of Alex Melamed until I did research for this thread. Koons is famous for hiring others to do his work for him. He's been spinning his wheels artistically for decades. People say it's not art, but it is art. Anything can be art. The question becomes, is it good art? And that's purely subjective. I love art that I can study for hours, art that sticks with me. Watson and the Shark by John Singleton Copley. Once seen, never forgotten. All right, let's take a quick look at Watson and the Shark. Once seen, never forgotten. I look for beauty, even dark beauty, in art. Maxfield Parrish, Man Ray, Salvatore Dali, Winslow Homer, Otto Dix, Wassily Kandinsky, John Singer Sargent, Art Deco, Mid-Century American, Art Nouveau, Lawrence Alma Tadema, Cindy Sherman, Ferdinand Knophoff. One of my favorite paintings, Caresses by Fernand Knopf, the master of enigma. Once seen, never forgotten. Great art provides no answers, it asks only questions. The job of the artist is to deepen the mystery. Francis Bacon, one of Bacon's works. So, here's what Alex Melamed, who created Trump, remember, says. This president has the bearing and impulses of a 9-year-old boy, a troubled 9-year-old boy. He wants most to be liked and admired, and when he isn't, he lashes out with insults and aggrieved demands for apologies. He has no patience and little self-control. He cannot spell and does not read. He is our new president. If you want to try and wade through this, be our guest. It's a rough slog, but it explains a lot. Post45.org, fuck the avant-garde. It's about a new avant-garde movement called the Mongrel Coalition. Quote, this is why when the Mongrel Coalition first appears on the scene, my first impulse is to recoil. I see friends threatened with retaliation for associating with poets and scholars who are called out by the mongrels. I worry about the policing of art and discourse. I wonder what this means for the future of art. I have shameful thoughts like, who are they to tell me what to do? Quiet, indignant conversations in which I find myself repeating, it's complicated. I hear myself saying that and I hear it as a cop-out, but I don't know what else to say. Despite the fact that it is a clear critique of the avant-garde, the position established by Fuck the Avant-Garde retains a key feature of the avant-garde impulse. It reminds us that illiberalism is crucial to democracy's survival, end quote. Got that? In order to have democracy, you don't have to have a knowledge of issues. You just become authoritarian and threaten people with violence. That means you're preserving freedom. Well, looks like that didn't work out too well for the Mongrel Coalition. If you go to Against Gringpo, the Mongrel Coalition, here's what you see. Decolonize or die, decolonize to live. The website is dead. Their tweets are protected. Their website is dead too. Pardon my language, but all these people do is jack off. Their perceptions are totally askew. They are everything they claim to hate. Here's what I learned from studying the avant-garde movement before writing this thread. All of these artists and art critics view the common people as lacking volition. We're just waiting around to be told what to do by our betters. Trump is our leader, they say. They created Trump, and now we blindly follow Trump because of avant-garde art. Guess what? I know a crapload about art. I've never studied the political and social purposes behind art. That's because, to me, art is purely a form of creative expression. Let me get edgy here. Nazi-sanctioned art. Message Runner by Elke Emil Eber. It's actually a perfectly accurate depiction of a World War I message runner. Hitler was a message runner in that war, so he loved this painting. I admire the accuracy, but it does nothing for me artistically. Now, this moves me. On the Wire by Harvey Dunn. Stretcher bearers and a soldier they saved. The human element is added. There's no humanity in the Nazi approved painting of the message runner. There's no humanity in the avant garde or in John Cusack. We support Trump because he's brimming with humanity. So are we. Cusick would exterminate us if he could. The only Hitler in this conversation is John Cusack. He's retweeted anti-Jewish sentiments. It's the old trope that we know the Jews control us because we're not allowed to criticize them. Really? Let's ask Jewish people. Are people shy about criticizing Jews? Does anybody stop the criticism of Jews? Do vociferous Jew haters pay any social price whatsoever? Here's what Trump has done to leftism. Let's watch a washing machine extinguish itself. Wait for it. Wait for it. You got to put a brick in there. That's what Trump has done to leftism. Just today, from CNBC.com, Trump says he's calling off stimulus negotiations with Democrats until after the election. I'll mansplain to John Cusack what this means. 1, Trump knows he'll win re-election. 2, Trump knows that the country blames Pelosi for holding up the pandemic relief. Trump is calling everybody's bluff. Now we'll see whether or not the Democrats are as sure of themselves as they say. Given that the Democrats are now Cusacked, my guess is they'll keep marching toward their political extinction level event. Good. It's about time.
I will be the greatest president that God ever created.